I am completing the gallery walk presentation for the mini case study. So I'm going to begin by giving you the introduction. I have recently moved to Austin, Texas, so I don't know many people here. I just stepped away from teaching in December. I taught for 2.5 years before I made the decision to walk away from education. Very soon I'll be starting a job working with the state, and hopefully I can take the information learned in this assignment and utilize it in my next occupation. My relationship with bilingualism, I really did not begin developing a relationship with bilingualism and others that are bilingual until I moved to Texas back in 2009. I'm originally from Louisiana. I did grow up around people that did speak some Creole and some French. However, I didn't come into contact with it often at all. So when I moved to Texas, really was my first big introduction to bilingualism. So I'm going to start with the purpose, the statement of purpose for the assignment. The statement of purpose for the assignment, the main goal for me of the mini case study is to encounter many of the issues often faced by advanced English language learners. My participant is an advanced English language learner. He's been learning English since the age of around 5 or 6. So he's been learning English for a great deal of time, and I also completed the Solem matrix scale with him for each of the times that we did meet. And he did score really all 5s on the assessment each time I completed it with him. In the case of my participant, he expressed discrimination. He's often faced due to the fact that he is a predominantly a Spanish-speaking individual. He has encountered discrimination when he has gone into certain stores speaking Spanish, as well as discrimination from some of his peers coming up. He also expressed dissatisfaction at the fact that technology was not heavily incorporated in his classrooms as he was coming up and as he was adapting to English. The purpose of the study, what I hope to demonstrate from this study, again, the subject is an advanced English learner, and he is able to comfortably communicate in English. During the interview process, I was able to deduce some of the errors made during the second language acquisition process, and one of those errors that he and I spoke about at length was pronunciation errors. Also, I was able to learn about many different features of second language acquisition that are worth looking into. And therefore, the purpose of the study is to determine ways in which teachers should improve their instruction in order to accommodate English language learners on any level. The assumptions and limitation of the study. So of course, we are limited in the fact that he is an advanced English language learner. So I could not do the level of research that I feel that some of my peers may have done, because they were able to use students that are really still knee-deep in the English language learning process. Because I'm not in the realm of education anymore, I could not use a student, which would have been preferable to the assignment. One of the other limitations that we did discuss, once again, pronunciation limitation. According to information discovered via research, the limitations felt by many teachers when it comes to pronunciation have been similarly documented in various contexts over time. And I am taking that from an article called Advanced EFL Learners' Beliefs About Pronunciation Teaching. An assumption on my part that I made prior to doing this assignment The bulk of an ELL's acquisition occurs in the classroom due to formal instruction, while informal instruction via social interaction and the media does take place. It is the formal classroom instruction that truly allows ELLs to accomplish the feat of second language acquisition. Um, from my research that I've done and from the findings of this study, I have determined that that assumption was incorrect. The many case study and research helped me determine that this is not the case, that English language learners greatly take from just social interactions and conversations that are had outside of the classroom environment. Methodology. The participant that was used in my study, the participant is a 21-year-old Hispanic male. Upon our first interaction, he advised me that he was born in Laredo, Texas, which is a border town located on the bank of the Rio Grande. While the participant was born in the United States, his first language is Spanish, and he advised me of this. After a brief move to Mexico soon after his birth, he and his family soon returned to Laredo at the age of 4. His English language acquisition did not begin until the age of around 4 or 5 when his family returned to the United States and he began kindergarten. The participant and I met through a mutual acquaintance because I've literally just moved to Austin and I don't know many people here, and I could not use a student because I'm no longer a teacher. So he and I met through a mutual acquaintance, and since the beginning of this mini case study, we've actually become close friends. The data collection process. For the data collection, we met 3 times. The first time that we met, we actually had a phone conversation, and I conducted interview 1. Interview 1, I will discuss those questions in just a moment. For interview 2 and interview 3, we did a face-to-face interaction. During interview 3, he allowed me to record him during the interaction, and I was able to really study some of his body language and really just take my time to really assess him and his English language skills through the use of the video. During the course of our 3 interactions together, I did transcribe our conversations to make sure that I had accurate data in front of me at all times. One of the first questions that I did ask the participant was, I asked him to think back to when he started to learn English. What were the first words that he could remember? What he did tell me about these words is that he couldn't advise me of the first words that he learned, but he remembers watching, quote, a lot of shows and movies, end quote. He stated that he mainly watched programs that are in Spanish, but he stated that once he began learning English, he watched a lot of American shows. He stated that after a while, the English began sticking to his head. That's what he said, literally. The shows he watched in the beginning were cartoons, with his favorite being Sailor Moon. He stated that he watched cartoons because the language used was simple and not as complex as the television show Friends, which is now his favorite. He also remembers watching the television show Teletubbies also because he states that they would ramble and it was not necessarily English, but he described it as garble. And during the process, one of the things that I did research, coming from that same article that I mentioned, it states that the area of second language pronunciation has long been a neglected one in English language teaching. Also, they state that learner beliefs were found to impact on the use of language learning strategies, the latter being of invaluable importance to learning success. So that's one of the things that we really talked about in detail was pronunciation and how music and how media greatly helped him in the area of learning English. My second question that I asked him was how he was able to communicate with people around him that did not speak um, his native language. And he responded that because he lived in a border town, it was easy to communicate with people around him. He says that Laredo is predominantly Spanish speaking. He states that learning English was easy and that he took to the language pretty quickly because he loved to listen to music. He loved movies, and that was really his motivator for learning the language. And so one of my findings that I do take away from this assignment is that the technology is a powerful motivator for English language learners, and that if it's heavily incorporated into curriculum and instruction, that greatly benefits the English language learners in the classroom. Again, according to the Solem student oral language observation matrix, he scored 5s on the assessment each time that I gave it to him. He's very advanced in his English speaking and comprehension at this point. Some of the results that I've taken away from the very first interview, he really did harp on pronunciation and the fact that at the time when he was coming up, there was no Duolingo to assist. There was no really strong technological resources that he could use at the time. And he ended the first interview stating that, teachers really should begin using these things in the classroom. I did advise him that when I was in the classroom as a teacher, I tried my best to utilize technology as much as possible. But from what he stated to me, that really teachers need to design the instruction with the technology in mind in order to make better gains for their students. One conclusion that I took away from the second interview is that not only can being bilingual help you in many facets of your life, but it greatly improves your life when it comes to employment. He advised that because he does know English and Spanish, he's able to get extra funds from his employer each paycheck because he has this ability that not many people have. So I did take away that result from our interview as well. So some recommendations for further research. One facet that I would like to look into further is some of the digital apps that are available, such as Duolingo on Android and Apple, to see how well they operate in order to assist with English language acquisition.